Okay, so we have our service. Now let's go to our vehicle form.component.ts. Now I'm going to go into constructor and inject make service. Once again, we have this icon, so I can press enter and it automatically adds the import statement on the top. Next, I'm going to declare a field here called makes and initialize that in ng on init. This.makeService.getMakes that returns an observable, so we need to subscribe to that. We get the makes and use that to initialize this makes field. Now, before dealing with the population of the dropdown list, I want to make sure that the application works up to this point. So I just want to log this makes object in the console, and if everything is working, then I move on to the next step, which is populating the dropdown list. So console.log makes, comma, this.makes. Save. Now refresh the page. So ng on init is called. And now let's take a look at the console. Look, interestingly, something is wrong in the code. So makes is undefined. Now imagine if I also wrote the code to populate the dropdown list, then it would be a little bit harder to figure out what part is not working. But when you make baby steps, it's much easier to figure out what went wrong. So what I want to do first to troubleshoot this is to see if there is a network connection to the server. So I go to the network tab, select XHR, this is for AJAX request. You can see we have a call to the makes endpoint. Click, look at the response or the preview. Beautiful, we've got 3 objects coming there. However, our makes field is still undefined. So let's go back to the code. Okay, can you pick on my mistake? The reason that was undefined is because there is a time lag until this makes variable is initialized. Because here we're dealing with asynchronous calls. So console.log is executed before we get the response from the server. Now the proper way to implement this is to add a code block here and move this console.log right here. Save, refresh. Now look at the console. Beautiful. Here we have 3 objects. So the first step is working. Now we move on to the next step, which is populating the dropdown list. So I'm going to go to vehicle form.component.html. Here's our make dropdown list. I'm going to add an option here, just an empty option. So no make is selected initially. The user has to specifically choose one. And then below that, I'm going to add another option. Apply the ng4 directive here. Let m of makes. For the value, I'm going to use m.id. And for the label, I'm going to use m.name. Save. Okay, now back in the form. Here we have 3 makes. Next, I'm going to implement the cascading dropdown list. So when we select a make, the model's dropdown list is repopulated.